All right. What's up, Eric?
What's up,
Jesse?
dude?
So
I'm still here. I should be asleep.
yeah. So we kind of wanted to, I guess,
Preface.
some of what's ahead, because we get on a kind of, I don't know, like a group of touchy subjects, or something that provokes a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, a lot of things that have kind of come up from our past and our experiences, and so I guess we wanted to preface this just a little bit.
Yeah. First of all, let me say that Benny, Jesse, Jess, and myself are best friends. We are best. Like there is at no point at any points of contention in our lives do we personally have malice towards each other. So let's start by saying that. But what the topic we touched on, I'm not going to blow the topic, but the topic we touched on brings up a lot of cultural trauma that I've experienced, and Benny may have experienced, and I will speak for myself. I definitely get pretty turned up and lit up on this one, but that's the nature of what we're doing here. Is we're having these conversations about things that are passionate, and there's a lot at stake with these topics, and I get worked up, man. I get worked up, but.
Yeah, and like you and I agree on like 98% of
most things.
We really do.
Mm-hmm.
I think like there's just like little things here and there that may seem like we don't agree, but like honestly, like we actually do agree. There's just little things that like I think we just kind of come at it from
different angles,
just a little different angle, and the thing is, like, we're all just trying to figure it out right now.
Yeah.
Right, and so a lot of these, like what we talked about, kind of stem from being people of color.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
And the effect of that, and how that affects us so deeply that we get so passionate about it, and I don't know. It just after a certain point, then we feel like we do have a responsibility to share. And after all these years of holding on to this and feeling like we're not worth enough to kind of share about these things, like it comes out almost explosive.
I know I do, and I'll quickly say, in my years in my short life, I've dealt with a ton of just blatant shit in my life, and internalized it for very long. And I think a lot of people of color do. We just say this is the way it is. Latinos, Asian people, people from the Middle East, Jewish people, Black people. We internalize a ton of that because it's just the way it is here. And I think the thing that we all share in common is that we all, now that we're sober, have we speak up, dude.
Yeah,
we speak up, and on these microphones, we feel like if we're gonna be on here, we have a responsibility to speak up. But for me, I definitely get really worked up. But my point is, me and Benny love each other. I love him.
Yeah,
I love
you too.
And I'm not
honestly, like I really didn't know, or I just wasn't prepared for what was up ahead. I'm not gonna lie, like I really wasn't. And so, in the end, really, it was just to let Eric do his thing.
Oh,
like it really, I have no malice, or I don't feel anything negative towards anybody, like especially like to you or to Jesse or to anything, or really,
Fuck Jess.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Fuck her.
I'm just kidding. She's not here.
But yeah, I at least I can speak on, like, I think the energy that was put out was, like what we were kind of touching on, is like, as people of color, and I like what I shared, and I'll be open with it. Like, for a while, I really didn't understand the concept of, or like kind of didn't think it was a really much of a relevant thing of these microaggressions, and I thought it was just some kind of, like, I don't know, like some social justice warrior, like BS of like, but like, over the course of time, like, you and I have had plenty of really good conversations, and like that's the beauty of being in the space of being like, oh shit, like I never really thought about it that way, and like, and so all these things kind of start to come back, and as a brown person kind of growing up in East County, or brown person growing up in a predominantly white setting, you are made to feel very different from the get-go. And sometimes, you know, a lot, it may be intentional and sometimes it wasn't intentional, right? Mm-hmm. Like it just kind of comes out of like just good nature, poking fun or anything. But there were times when it was very serious. And, you know, you start to like kind of realize as you get a little bit older, start to have these conversations like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like these things happen every day. And you see on the news, you see from people around you, you see from all these things, and these things don't make you feel like you are the same or are treated equally or are viewed as equally or people feel about you differently. And for years of my life, I had to I had to put on a face and make sure that I wasn't labeled as what I was convinced even of my own people being
programming,
viewed as.
dude.
Yeah,
that programming.
That's fucking like social programming.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And it definitely it plays a huge role into it projects for sure. And I try not to, man. I try not to, but you know, I don't know, dude. I don't really know how to work around it. You know, I don't mean to like, don't mean to like come off brash, but we, you know, as people of color, we deal with shit for a very long time. And then now I don't fight people over it and like physically, I don't abuse people. I don't call people names, but I definitely get passionate about articulating my point. And, you know, sometimes it's overpowering, but either way, we come from a place of, we love each other. We're friends, genuinely friends. Yeah. And despite getting worked up, there's no like, I'm not going to, you know, not hit Benny up tomorrow. I'm going to talk to him, you know. Jesse,
yeah,
any opinion?
I'm really tired and I want to go to bed.
Gang.
Facts.
I love you guys.
Love you too. So, this is our podcast. Enjoy.
Yeah. Peace. Just like, okay, this is a maladaptive behavior. I gotta chuck this out of the way, and I gotta do something else. And like, as long as we stay in that space, it's just, you continue to like reap the benefits of this life that we live, and our lives are made very simple. Hey, grow spiritually and help people. And when you focus on that, why wouldn't life get better? Especially when you're staying in a space of like gratitude and all the things that come with being spiritual. So. Man, it's exciting, dude. I'm happy for you.
It's really, you know, the cool part is like, I used to have euphoric recall about getting loaded, you know, and that was like what I looked forward to. That's what my brain could process as like the best thing I could possibly do is to get high. And now like my euphoric recall is about like all the dope shit that I'm doing in my life, you know,
and
it's
you
like,
get to live.
And it's like, it reinforces like the good stuff, and like life's not always fucking easy, you know what I mean? I'm not like over here just like fucking floating like, you know, a foot off the ground in like, you know, my Indian style position, meditating and shit all the time. But when I look back, like my brain remembers like the good times and how many good times there are, like way more than I ever had before, you know. So it's really cool to have that perspective.
Having tough times, like you guys watched me be depressed for a long time, and what those hard times do for me is more valuable than any good, you know, extended period of good time, is because I know it's going to be okay. You know, like I'm sure most of us, I feel like when you feel like shit, you know, when I've had anxiety attacks or been in a period of depression, you're like, this is never going to end. And that's why people are suicidal, because they think, because your brain tricks you into believing that it's never going to end. But one thing I've learned over the years with dealing with the worst depression I could possibly imagine, and dealing with it sober, no drug, no oxy, no drinking to get out of it, is that it's going to be fine. And that's, so those hard times that everybody is going to experience, those seasons are a necessity to know that that's what builds faith. That's what builds spirituality. Is what is it? Pain is the touchstone of spiritual growth.
Yes.
That's how you know how that's how you test your faith. Is like how much pain can you handle and work and live through and still come out of the other side shining. And that's what recovery teaches us. It teaches us to continue to grow spiritually through all the shitty stuff and question God as you're doing it, because that's human. You're supposed to be like, what the fuck? What kind of God does? What kind of God does this?
Here,
and see, that's why I always put myself into painful situations.
There you go.
I want to grow spiritually. That's the only reason.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's an interesting process, but we're very lucky, dude. Like when I speak to a lot of older people who are much older than we are, and decades older, and they're still chasing stuff. They're still thinking that the promotion is going to do it. They're still thinking that I made 10,000 this month, 15,000 is going to do it. Oh, I'm going to move from, North Park to downtown. That's going to do it. I'm going to have a hotter girlfriend. People are going to spend their whole lives chasing that. If I lease 2 cars, if I get a Tesla this time, they really think that's going to do it, and it doesn't fucking work. And we get to learn that very fucking early in life, that the only thing, it's so fucking cliche, but it's all on the inside, bro. Happiness is inside, bro. It sucks, but like we get to learn that super young, so it's fucking cool.
It's like what you guys were talking about earlier about trying to jack off while you're on coke or something. Like you can almost do it, but then you can't. you just can't do it.
I think it's more like once you ejaculate, then you immediately are like, that sucks. Like, what's next?
Yeah, where to
what do I go from here?
Because I've never like beat off and finished and be like, all right, let's go do some laundry.
No. Me beating off on coke was a desperate attempt to fall asleep. It was like, I got all this. I'm not gonna sleep for a couple hours. I might as well.
Oh, dude.
For the next forever.
Laying there in bed and then, dude. So I was
start this podcast. No, let's not even go down this rabbit hole right now.
Yeah,
whatever. But the birds,
coke is bad.
Oh yeah,
I was telling you.
So the bird thing is funny because I used to party in Long Island, and Long Island is east, and I used to live in Jamaica, which is west, and the sun would start coming up and the birds would start chirping. I remember specifically on Northern Boulevard, the sun's fucking creeping up, and the birds make me depressed immediately.
Yes.
I'm like,
why is that?
Because it lets you know how much of a piece of shit you really are. Like,
I think people are going to school.
People are going to school and church. I remember coming out of Pacha, and people are going to church, dude. And my eyebrows are at my hairline, and I'm drenched in sweat. It's 30 degrees outside. I'm drenched in sweat with a t-shirt on, just zooming down the block. And people are going to church on a Sunday. It's like 11 on a Sunday. I'm just coming out of the club. Gross,
yeah,
dude.
I've had a couple of those.
Yeah, dude.
Those Pacha nights.
Dude, I would lay there and I would hear the birds. I'd probably be like 5 a.m. by this point. I'd be like, no, those are night birds. Those are night birds. It's only 2 a.m. I can still get like 4 hours of sleep, dude. Those are night birds.
I would get in my car, leave Long Island. I would leave Long Island and I'd book it home thinking I could outrun the sun, get to where it was dark still. I was like, fucking idiot. I was like, by the time I get home, the birds won't be up out here. Like, what the fuck?
Dude, it's crazy though, because like the first bird you hear, like something happens to
it happens inside. Yeah, you die a little bit.
Like,
no. that feeling of coming down. Fuck all. I would even if I did relapse, I would never do coke again because that shit's miserable. Fuck that.
I would.
Anyway.
So how about you, Jessica? What's up with you?
Oh, I have the opposite experience with hearing the birds. I love it when I hear the birds in the morning because then it means I could drink again.
Oh,
no.
It's another. It's a whole different. I know it's a whole different thing. I was listening on the radio about this one girl talking about how she was drinking like from 6 p.m. and like thinking like that was like such a long time to be drinking.
Wait, what? She was drinking from 6 p.m.
to like what? To like 11 o'clock?
11. Yeah, and I'm like,
get the fuck out of here.
Is that?
No, we drink all day, bro.
Yeah.
We day drink. Dude, you want to hear? Can I tell you a story about summer school?
Yes,
all right. So summer school was at like 10 o'clock. Okay, and I left my house at like 8 in the morning. Went and got 40s of Budweiser. Sat in the handball courts in the park in New York. Got a bag of Coke with my boy
Handball. Were you in elementary school?
No, but it's a
dude.
East Coast
Whether-
thing. Shut
Yeah,
up.
dude. This is
Don't try to play.
That's how
me,
we
bro.
roll.
Sorry.
Did you go down to Chicano
That's
Park
where
there
you do the
playing?
drugs.
That's where you do
before school.
drogas in the fucking dude. You go to the handball court.
I got high at the handball courts all
See?
day. Like that's where you went.
So dude, so I buy a bag of coke
What's
and
the matter with
we're
you?
doing coke or whatever. I was probably 14 or 15. So I'm going to summer school and I pull, because my ID it's a paper ID that says, hey, you're in this class. So I pull it out of my pocket, and what do I pull out of my pocket? A full bag of cocaine, and showed it to the security guard, thinking it's my ID. Like, here you go. And I looked at it, and I looked at him, and I just walked the fuck out. And I'm like, all right, I'm never coming back. I guess I just failed. I dropped out shortly after. But that's where my life was. Anyway. Oh yeah. Well, my point was talking about drinking early. That was 11 in the morning. 10, 11 in the morning. And I was already.
That's fair.
From sleeping, waking up, I already drank 40s and sniffed a bunch of coke. And I was 14 or 15 years old. So that's the kind of life I live. I'm a Christian now, though. We're good. We're good now.
Eric was
Eric
saved.
is a man of God.
Yeah. I remember when it got like the worst, where I had like just enough freedom to be leaving the house and then like also have my stash and be able to like go on my route, stop by the grocery store and get hide stuff like a squirrel all over my neighborhood. I would hide handles of like vodka in the bushes. And you know those roundabout things that you drive around and there's that one way. I'd always hide them in there because nobody walks in there. You know,
except for drug addicts and
Pretty smart.
alcoholics.
Yeah. That's good.
I did find a jar of like Keef.
Keef?
Keith.
God, it's been so long. Is it called Keef?
Yeah, what
Yeah.
the like?
That's what.
Now I think
when
of
you
like
do a grinder
kefir.
and it's like,
I think of like yogurt kefir. I found a jar
Yeah,
of that like in the bushes once.
There you go.
Might have been
Come up.
mine.
Come up.
Anyways,
That is a come up.
Wait,
Yeah,
but Jess, so how are you
from-
doing?
Yeah, how else is life going?
honestly, like it's not going. I mean, everything on the outside is going like fabulously. You know, like all the come ups of sobriety and whatnot. Like all the like things are coming. You know, like I have a new like technically like a new job. Right now it's in the internship phase, but like I'm out of sales and I've got my own apartment and I have my car and I have my girlfriend and like I have all these things and like I don't stress about finances or like responsibilities like of going to groups and hitting meetings and get my shit signed, like things like that. Everything's super fine, but on the inside I feel really crummy. And that's something I do want to say, just because like one, I'm very aware that like me not going to meetings is definitely doing something to me. And two, I'm not in enough pain to do something about it. And so this like weird, awkward, like I'm conscious of this fact, but also I'm not uncomfortable enough yet to change.
It's healthy.
And
that's honestly a very healthy space to be in at 22 and sober at 2 years. Honestly, it's like you're right where you're supposed to be. It feels like, you know, it's
okay.
no. So
I forget that you're 22.
Yeah,
and like when I put myself into my 22-year-old mind, it's like,
yeah. You're
of course,
dude. Of course you. Of course you have a hard time prioritizing. Of course early sobriety, like sobriety is, you have all these plates. In the beginning of sobriety, you have one fucking plate. You have one fucking job. Just don't get loaded. That's the only thing you're supposed to do. And you have this one plate. And once that plate's spinning, you're like, fuck yeah, dude. And then you get a job, you know, and then you're spinning that plate and you're like, fuck, you got 2 plates going. And then by like 2 or 3 years, this plate over here is not spinning anymore, but your girlfriend and your job plate's going really well. And then over the years, and I think everyone is trying to figure it out, is how do you get all the plates to spin at once? And that is the spiritual fucking part that we all gotta fucking do, which sucks because you don't have to manage them anymore. They're just being managed. But at that time, that's what you're supposed to like fall in love and like throw all your responsibilities out the window. Not at 22. Yeah, that's what you do.
Can you come to my work and tell them that
Yeah, right.
whenever I'm acting a little shitty?
Just pretend Eric's your dad.
I'll write a note.
Yeah.
I'll write you a letter.
No,
I have
the acting shitty part to me is the responsibility I know and that I have, like my self-awareness now and the responsibility I know. Like I know where this is coming from, so I like. Do I act shitty? Like I know where it's coming from, so like obviously my answer is gonna be fucking no. So like, what am I gonna do about it then? So what are you gonna do about it?
Well, I mean,
what are you gonna do?
The consequences haven't been big enough. One, I did get close to being fired because of my attitude, and that's something I never would have thought would have happened in my entire, at least like career wise, because I've always been a good worker, even though I like showed up like loaded, or like I was always one of the best ones, you know, and I prided myself on that. And now like having my attitude problem come into work is such a bizarre thing, because it's only happened to me when I'm sober, you know, and actually sustaining a job is also something that's new sober, but it just feels so good to be shitty in the moment when you feel like someone's bugging you. You're just like, fucking stop.
Yeah.
And not like holding it
it's
and trying to be a good
sometimes.
Christian. And I find it getting harder to like bring that back and like really just like take a second. It's hard for me to take a second sometimes, and more so than when I was going to meetings and when I was involved in
it's not just about the meetings, it's about
personal,
your fucking spirit,
it's about
dude.
the spirit.
Yeah.
That's, dude, this thing that we do, that we all participate in. I had a friend of mine was telling me about a guy he's working with who's like, you know, all about fucking 12-step, like knows it, verse, everything. He can quote the shit to you. And he told my boy, he was like, I think I just wasted 25 years of my life, because the whole point of this thing is to grow spiritually. That's the whole thing. All the steps, all the stuff that we do, the only thing is, how do I grow spiritually and help other people? That's it. That's what it's not the meetings. It's not this. It's working with other people and meditating and growing spiritually. And that's it. That's like, I'm in a space right now where I'm not going to meetings, and I am in, this is the most neutral I've been. I'm going to few meetings now than I've ever gone to, and I'm the most neutral I've been, because before I was going to 5 meetings a week but not meditating. Now I'm going to 1 meeting a week and I'm meditating, and I feel better, because the meetings that's not it. The work that we do, that's it, and that gives you the freedom and that gift of neutrality that we're all talking about. That's what gives you that. So it's not the meetings that get you. The meetings are a constant reminder of what we're all supposed to be fucking doing.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah,
Like, that's what.
Now I remember.
Yeah,
that shit.
sometimes you need, but you need that. But you get something similar here, where you're just talking to us, and we're like, hey, this is what you should do. Hey, remember, and not being codependent and forcing you to do it. But that's, I have to remember that sometimes, that what we do is, there's work that we do independently with, on ourselves, and working with others. That's the only point of this whole process. Yeah.
And the thing is like for me, my biggest struggle with sobriety even was like before, when I started trying to get sober and whatnot, was having like that community and having that connection. And I feel so far removed from it that I feel like that aspect of like not going to meetings is making me rely on myself a lot more, which is, in turn cutting off from asking for help and leaning on a higher power or other people even.
Well, they're compromises. When you start to compromise these things that add to your life spiritually, you start to compromise what your soul is.
And your values.
Yeah. And when you put those two together and you start compromising and chipping little by little, like just out of love, you can wait till you get into that painful situation, or you can just do it. I guess. Like for me, like I know it may not be that easy, but like I had to learn very on. It's like I can, it always ends up being the last thing I try, but the first thing that works. So I could, just slowly start doing like these things where it's like I just need to stop fighting it and just do it. Just go back to it, because it's the only thing that works.
I wish, what I want to like create is something where, like a survey, or like a survey that people can ask themselves in whatever capacity it may be, whether it be overeating or a sobriety issue, or at work, or with their relationship or their marriage. How do we lay out the pain? Like, let's write it out. Let's write out how fucking, because, some people never get enough pain, and you can't guarantee that you're going to. You know what I mean? How long did you see me do it? I did it for years.
Yeah.
I did it for years, and I gotten enough pain after 3 years of pain, but just because, you don't have to do that. How do you acutely examine what the fuck is going on and how you feel? And you have to truly ask yourself, do I want something different? Do I want something different? And if you do, then the quote is, the change is not easy, but it's a fluid change, right? It's something you're like, all right, this is what I got to do. It's all the same thing as when you first get sober. Motherfucker said, go to meetings. They said, do this, do that. And you were like, fuck yeah, I know what I came from, and I'll do whatever anybody says to do. But when you're not ready, you're going to fight yourself. And then you're almost gonna arrest the development of your pain. But there's got to be a way to like acutely examine our pain and be like, here, look, this is what your life looks like right now. I don't know how to convey that to people because some people never find it.
I think one way to do it is by like writing shit out, like journaling. For me, like when I'm in not the best headspace, my brain is just firing everywhere. And it's hard for me to pinpoint on shit. And then what I do is I use distraction techniques, like poor coping mechanisms to just distract, because there's just so much going on up there. So when I start to just like write things out, it almost just like for a time removes it and puts it somewhere else, so that I can focus on what's actually going on, versus like, oh, I got to do this, and oh, fuck, I haven't paid that bill, and oh, like, I got to call this person, but like, oh, I also need to do this first. And then it's just like there's too much going on, dude.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like focus in on one thing when there's so much going on upstairs.
Yeah, someone told me, you need to quiet your mind so you can hear God. That's what someone told me. And I'm a firm believer that we all know the right answers. It's just really, it's taking time to like have a moment to hear what we're supposed to do, and it seems patronizing to say it that way. Because people are like, oh, I'm going through a divorce, bro. Don't tell me to fucking like, don't minimize my problems. And people did it to me, and I found it very offensive when they were like, they simplified it that way. But really, when I say God, I mean that intuitive energy that we all know in our gut, like this is wrong, this is right. I've always known that, and I've never been a spiritual person, but always in my life, my body has known what's right and what's wrong. But if we have all the stimuli going on, we have Instagram, we got work, girlfriend, this, that, and it's just fucking overload. And for me, I can't sift through all that sometimes. It's like having too many apps open on your phone. It's just, I don't have the bandwidth, So what I end up doing is, you don't have to even call it meditating. Just shut shit off for a minute and close your fucking eyes. It doesn't have to be a long time. Doesn't have 2 minutes. That 2 minutes of absolute utter silence, and when you're not sleeping, is a long fucking time. So just for me, when I want to create something, when I want to put some, if I have an intention I'm trying to put out into the world, I make sure I sit quiet, because I want to have a direct place where it comes from, and it comes from my gut. My gut knows. But it doesn't have to be meditation practice every day. Just open up your fucking bandwidth a little bit and like quiet some stuff down and give your mind a minute to process. Just say, fuck, okay, like this can happen this day, this can happen that day. The book I came out with, that's another way to like organize what is and prioritize what you're working on and break that subconscious.
Yeah, put it on camera.
Hey.
Oh,
that's
snap.
It. There we go. But
it's an author and shit.
Think Fit S. It doesn't say Think Fit SD. My bad.
It doesn't.
Just Think Fit.
but it's I use the term subconscious programming because I feel like a lot of us are just waking up. We're just waking up and living. We're not like taking time to like set a purpose for the fucking day. And that's actually segue into what the fuck we were gonna talk about today. It's lit. Anyway. So
what is that segue?
Purpose.
Yeah.
We were talking about purpose.
Oh, there we go.
It came
there
out.
It is.
I got so distracted by how nice the covers feel of this book. If you want to find out what it feels like, just get one. It's on Amazon.
Yeah, even if you don't read it, you can just touch it.
You can just touch it
Yeah.
and like it looks cool on the table. It looks cool when you're Benny just has it on his fucking table. He's not using it.
No. No.
So I like purpose and intention.
Yeah.
So one thing that I did when I was part of this leadership program was every morning we had intention calls, where we would all get on and just a quick like we're gonna state what we're trying to create that day. What's our intention? Just pick one intention. And I think it's a really powerful thing to do, because doing an intention every day, whether it's the same intention or different intention each day, kind of just like gives our brain that little like buffer when we're handling things throughout the day. If we can call back that intention, kind of gives us like a little more direction on what we're doing in that exact moment, versus like, I'm just gonna wing it and see what happens and like whatever. Having that, even that one word or that one intention, really helps me personally. Whenever I'm like handling a tough situation, it's just like, okay, remember, like, take a breath. Like, this is what I'm working towards today,
Yeah, dude. Where I came up with that idea is, and it seems so stupid, but I was when I was in a depression, I was in a serious depression, and the subconscious programming that I had designed for myself was keeping me in this cycle. It was like, get up, go to the gym, train people, go home, and it was just fucking living and just moving. And you broke it down perfectly a couple weeks ago. By setting purpose and setting intention for the actions and setting intention for the space you want to live in that day. So like, not just being like, oh, I woke up, but today I want to be kind today. I'm setting the intention to be a kind person today. I have kids, dude. Some days I need to set that fucking intention because kids like defeat you sometimes. So like in the morning, waking up with a purpose and intention to say, this is who I want to be today. The way I was doing it before, I was just waking up and I was whoever the fuck Eric wanted to be that day. And it didn't work. Didn't work out. And then setting like doing intentions in the sense that like, these are the actions I'm going to take today. And find the way Jesse put it a couple weeks ago is momentum. We had this momentum going, this runaway train, this life of our marriage and our job and our kids and we had this momentum going that way by waking up and taking some time to fucking breathe and to write something down and say, this is who I want to be today. This is what I want to do today. And then reflect on it later. It slows it down in the beginning. When you first start changing that, it's fucking difficult, but by the end of a few weeks of doing it, you've now shifted the momentum. And it's that like that analogy with, simple steps to changing the course of a ship. You just move the ship a few degrees. By the end of the destination, you're in a completely different place. And it's like that. And I lived long enough with just no purpose, dude. Just even at jobs, like I'm working a job, but not a purposeful job, just like, making money, And it's so I created that to just be like, dude, if it worked for me in my depression, in that shitty ass state I was in, it can work for anybody in between on the whole spectrum, Yeah, man, it's I don't know. I don't like to be all new agey with the intention and the purpose, but I feel such a stark difference in who I am as a person just based off doing those little things,
There's reasons why successful people, there's like certain traits for successful people, and there's a reason why a lot of successful people do similar things on a daily basis, and there's a reason why they're successful. So I don't think it's like new agey in a way. I think it's just what we're finding out so much information nowadays about what actually works, and I think it's a really exciting time because we're really, as a population, like we're coming to this crossroads. It's like, all right, we're all here. Like we have all this information at our fingertips. Like, what are we choosing to do with it? Are we gonna choose the path of least resistance and just like survive and like whatever, or are we gonna fucking challenge these difficult topics? Are we gonna really put our effort into like positive things?
Yeah. What part of ourselves are we watering and nurturing? It's there's we're very young, but what I'm learning, there's no time in life to do anything but move forward and change and grow and evolve. There's no time for, like, when I get frustrated with being creative, or when I get frustrated with where my business is or where I want my business to be, all I can do is say, okay, I'm going to acknowledge that. And that's a thing. That's a valid feeling. I affirm that that's a feeling. But there's no time in the world to fucking feel like dog shit all the time. So if someone proposes to me like, hey, these are some simple fucking solutions, like little things here, create a ritual and like, you know, shift the momentum another way, I'm down, dude. Because there's no time. We have such a short amount of time, you know, even though when you're young, it feels like you have a long time. But dude, I've spent so many days like Groundhog's Day waking up fucking depressed, dude. And there's no time in this world, you know, fuck that.
In my like short 22 years of living, like even up until I got sober, it was like Groundhog's Day over and over again. And I remember like, cause I always like had a connection with a higher power, and I always like resented the hell out of it or denied it completely or reached out to it in complete desperation. And during those times of complete desperation was when I really like, you know, took a look at where I was at, what I've done so far in those like short amount of years. And I would just like, not like yell out, but I would just be like really frustrated. Like, what am I doing here? And I'd always be asking, just like, show me, just tell me something. And I actually know I would yell. I remember, because sometimes I would like trip on acid a little bit and then go into the mountains and go hike and go find my own spiritual journey. And I would just find myself so frustrated. And I didn't know that anybody else my age or anybody else like in the world was dealing with what I was dealing with. Having this like weird connection with something that's not there. Like, nobody else thinks about this. And so I'm here alone on this earth and I'm thinking like, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing right now? Like, just show me something, like anything. And I mean, that was my experience up until, you know, doing it day by day and like, you know, getting like a little bit towards the path that I needed to be on. And looking at from where I was 2 years ago to where I am now is a huge, huge difference. And it, you know, my purpose, like having like a purpose, it could be like, oh, my purpose is to build an organization for the homeless and, or do this and do that. And that's what I pictured my purpose being, was by like becoming this one singular person in the future, you know? Today I feel like I'm living in my current purpose, meaning I am supposed to be messing up and I am supposed to be growing in the way that I am. My purpose isn't to like die of an overdose. You know, that's not what I think my purpose is. For today, my purpose is to continue to grow, continue to fuck up so I can hit some people along the way, you know, instead of having that one end goal of like being this like amazing, powerful person. Like, that is what was so unachievable in my head, if that makes sense. Yeah. And it gave me like, oh fuck, well, that's too far from what I am today. Like, might as well just try to not do anything at all.
Yeah, because I think like having your purpose directly correlates to your self-worth, right? Like, and there's times where I catch myself doing this, where I am in that Groundhog's Day sort of cycle, and you know, I it's funny because I end up being in a very comfortable space and think like, I'm good. Oh, I can take this on. I can take this on. I can take this on, and slowly but surely, I start to get into that cycle. And I get into that cycle where I wake up, I got to get out the door, then I'm done with this, and I got to go head to this, and then now this, and then this. And before I know it, the day's over, I'm in bed, and I do it all over again the next day, right? And when I'm doing that, and there's nothing to show for my day, there's no growth, there's nothing that I could say, oh, this happened, I did this, and I was able to build upon this. When there's enough of those days where that happens, I start to break down internally. And so my anxiety goes up. My depression flare-ups are more frequent. The way I treat people is completely different. So it's this thing that I'm learning it still. You know, as I'm only, you know, a year and a half sober. So like I get a little frustrated with that, but I give myself enough credit that I have that like self-awareness that I can make these changes. And right now I'm like in that perfect space again. So now that I know like, okay, I do this and this is what happens. How can I keep where I'm at and be comfortable with where I'm at? And So yeah, it's work, but for me at least, it's a direct correlation to like my self-worth. If I need to continue to be in some sort of purpose, or else I don't feel worthy enough to be here, and I slip.
For me, it's a little of the opposite. by the mindfulness practice and what happened for me, the process that's happened over the past 6 months is I was affirmed by someone who I looked up to. We talked about that before.
Yep.
And someone was like, he gave me permission and acknowledged that I existed as a spiritual human being. And was just like, and that gave me permission to then start affirming myself. Right. And that was in my spiritual practice. I affirm myself, and I pour into myself essentially. And I like turn the looker onto, you know what I mean? I turn my mind on top of itself. And by doing that, that is what built me self-worth. My purpose didn't build me self-worth. Internally, self-worth was built in the practice. And now I'm able to live in my purpose. That's what happened for me. And actually I feel like I'm in a flow space that things are now, I was telling Jess that the things, everything now is happening for me. And I'm doing it from a place of like true metta, like a love and kindness place, because I feel like I deserve to be able to do that for people. I feel like I deserve to be compensated for what I'm doing. I feel like I'm affirmed now. I really feel that way. So I used to try to create my self-worth off of external things. I had jobs, that sounded cool, and I've made money that made me feel cool, and I drove a car that I was happy with, and I had pretty girls, and that was all the external stuff, and it never made me feel good. So my purpose wasn't going to fill me. So that was the only reason I started to turn my mind on top of itself, was because I had to look inside. And then that was where my value came from. And once I found my value, I was like, okay, now I can pour into people. Now I can pour into people and do what I'm destined to do here. Speak the stuff that we're speaking right now. Put a fucking book out. Put a podcast out. And literally coming from a place of like, let's just share this good stuff we're sharing. And that, that was it for me. It was really, it had to be inside, which is fucking harder. It's harder.
There's a cool saying that this really powerful woman said one time, that you want to give from your overflowing cup. Yep, you want to give from like when the cup overflows into the saucer, that's what you want to give. Yeah. Because if you're giving from something that's empty, it's not going to have the same depth and weight. It's not going to have the same like effect. Because when you're like drained, like what is giving of yourself when you're not fully like present with yourself? So yeah, give from the overflow. Mm-hmm. Fill your cup first, and then you can give.
Yeah, man, that's that process. We're all in that journey and process. We're all just trying to figure out, what the fuck we're doing here. It's the most human shit ever. Just being like, what am I supposed to be doing? Or am I just, breathing up air? Like I've been that guy. I've just been sucking up air.
I saw this thing on Pinterest. It was, a candle never loses its light when it shares with another candle.
Oh man,
that's what I was thinking about the whole time.
Fuck that person, dude. I hate that. I fucking hate that. That sucks. And of course, it's on Pinterest.
Of course, it is.
I hate that.
It's always on Pinterest.
God, I love when I read those like supposedly like inspirational quotes, and I'm just like, this is a giant fucking contradiction.
I love it,
and I'm just like, everyone's like commenting on it.
When I write mine, I make sure there's continuity.
Yeah.
But that's how I speak. I speak with coming from a place of logic. So as I read it back, I'm like, oh, that is a contradiction. Like, but sometimes, it's called the dialectic. Both opposing you've heard that before.
Yeah.
They're both opposing truths, but they're both true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's that. There you have that paradigm where it's like both things can be true at the same time, even though they contradict themselves. But I make sure I don't fucking like promote shit like that because I don't want to look stupid. I don't like looking stupid.
Like that one saying where it's like small-minded people talk about other people, medium-minded people talk about things and events, big-minded people they talk about ideas and such, but that saying is talking about people, so they're small-minded.
Dude, I got into it with a girl on social media today, which I never do. No, I never do.
Of course you did.
I used to. My old sponsor, like a couple of years ago, was like, he's like, don't go on social media, dude. I was just starting fights for a while.
That was a funny time.
Yeah. I was, we were friends at that time.
Yeah.
I was just starting, not even on purpose. I wasn't starting fights on purpose at all, but they were happening for sure. But a girl today posted that people have the audacity to boast about their faith, but how dare you boast about your faith and dare question God? Doesn't that sound like a shitty, judgmental fucking statement? And she's a kid, dude. She's young.
Oh.
She's fucking young.
So this is all your fault.
Wait, did you say that or the child said that?
She said that. No, it's not a child. It's a 20-something-year-old person. She's but
she's 22.
I'm the child.
Yeah, she's 22 or 23. Yeah, but, sorry. But But I said to her, I was like, dude, people resent spiritual people in quotation. People hate that because you come from a place up here talking down about how everybody else should practice their thing. As spiritual people with quotations, we're supposed to bring it down to people. We're supposed to bring it to them, and they're supposed to see the way you do it and say, what the fuck is he doing? Dude, I have people who text me every day to text me they meditate, not because I'm like, here's what holy people do. No, it's because I'm fucked up. And I am fucked up, and people see what it has done for me. So I'm down here. I'm down here with y'all. I'm not fucking, dude. I have no business talking from a place up there.
You got to bring it down from the mountain. That's the fucking biblical story. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And it's digestible. You know what I mean? It's like there's enough people. You go to any church, and there's enough people standing at a pulpit, fucking telling you what you should be doing or what spirituality is. We don't need any more. We don't need any more. I've
always made it a point to like okay that in a sense of the questioning. If you don't ask questions, how are you going to get your answers?
Dude, you're more familiar with the Bible than me. How many people in the Bible questioned God and forsook God? Almost every story.
Every single one.
Is it every fucking
single
story?
one?
Is it every fucking
like
story?
Every story, but it is a
except
common,
for Job.
It's
Yeah, Job was like,
No,
dude, you just come have my daughters and shit.
no,
that the guy?
I mean, like, yeah. No, well,
Come at my daughters and shit.
Yeah, we can get into Job another day. No, but it's a human trait.
I think it's the most human trait. I think it's the most human thing.
A lot of like the godliest individuals would have their moment of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Or like, God, what? Like it's a human trait. It's human. That's what you are. You're just human, and that's perfectly normal. I mean, you have like with David, who wrote
my favorite person in the Bible. He's a goddamn savage.
Who wrote like 90% of the Psalms, who has praises, frustrations, depression times, like every single emotion that a human being has are all there. Yep. It is normal. So to question God is normal.
It's normal, and we're all the things that Brian Callen says we're verbs. We're not nouns. We're not spiritual. One thing. We're not just that. We're fucking David. We're murderers and adulterers and then holy people and kind and loving. We're all of those things. And in the in the growth process of a human being, you're going to ebb and flow through all those shitty fucking people and those shitty times. You're not just going to be spiritual or not spiritual. The most spiritual thing you can do is ebb and flow, right? That's it. That's it. So she actually she almost doxed me. She took our conversation and put it in her story.
Nice.
To ask the opinion of other people. I asked her. I was like, why would you do that? And she didn't put my name or anything. But she's like, oh, I didn't put your name. It's fine. I was like, I just would never think to do that. I would never think to like
put someone on blast like
never.
that. Yeah.
I would never do something like that.
No, when you do that, you're looking for people to affirm your
to
idea.
affirm your idea,
Yeah,
and
that's what you're looking for.
That's whatever. But anyway, I thought that was, you know, you see that a lot, man. People who think they have some shit figured out, and because they have it figured out, they speak down from the top of the mountain, telling you, "Hey, this is what I did to get up here. Like, get up here. Like, you should do this. You should do that." And people hate that. People fucking hate it. That's why people. So, you know, spiritual practice as church and organized religion is going down, not going up, because people don't like that shit. They don't want it. They want someone who's gonna like, come to me. And that's why I'm lucky. I have spiritual people who meet me for coffee, and we just talk shit about how we get our ass kicked. And they're like, this is what I do, you know? And that's what makes it, you know, gives me the opportunity to like grow spiritually, because I see other people who are just being regular people, you know? But we lead by example, you know? And if people want what we have, then they're going to take suggestions, you know?
Bars.
That was bars.
Yeah,
man.
It goes back. Sorry.
No, dude, you go.
It goes back to like the big book. It's about promotion. No, it's about attraction rather than promotion.
It's all about promotion.
It's all about promotion. And that's what I felt when I first came into like the rooms, is that like I felt like it was the most it was like the most like comforting, most spiritual place. And I remember thinking the exact thought, like, this is what church should be like. Like, everyone came as they were. Everyone was there to just try to be better people. And there was no judgment of any kind. Like, nobody was on their high horse that I saw at the time, because we're human and that does happen sometimes still. But like at the time I was like, damn, like this is not like religion kind of just turned it into something human, like completely human. And when you break people down enough to where they're like so desperate for anything, like any kind of help, it completely like humbles us, you know? And so there isn't a place where we can speak down to, because we're all down there. And it's like one publicly known that we're all down there too, and like within yourself, like, you know yourself too. So like when I would go to church and see other people, because nobody knows like where or how shitty they're being at home. Like, nobody knows that, and you put on this front, whereas you go to a meeting, you don't have to put on a front, because you can't impress anybody by even being there.
It's funny when people try to impress each other at meetings. It's like, you're around a bunch of junkies, bro. Get your life together. Trying to sound cool in a room full of fucking drug addicts. Good for you, dude. Fucking winner. You know, yeah, man, this is, I don't know, dude. I wish you can like infuse people with a growth process. You could just be like, inject them like, and then they'll get it. But I don't fucking know, man. Yeah, steroids, picos. But you can't do it for anybody. All you can do is show people what the fuck you're doing. And go from there. That's all you can do.
I mean, dude, this shit is crazy. Like, we're all fucking down here. We're all fucking these fleshy beings clinging onto a rock, fucking flying through space. And I think
we're not clinging onto it. The rock is
gravity.
clinging onto us.
Yeah, gravity. I know. It's physics and shit. But like, if you think about it though, like it's crazy that we're even here right now. You know what I mean? Like, we can get fucking lost in like whatever arguments that we're getting into at the time. We can be judgmental of other people. You know, we can do all these things. But if we really break it down, it's like, dude, it's crazy that we're even here right now. Let's fucking make the best of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. We can make all the time to be miserable. It's very easy. It's very fucking easy to be fucking feel like shit all the time. You just do nothing. Just do nothing, and not do nothing, but like you go to work and you can just not work on yourself at all, and it'll wear on you. You know, but such, you know, for me, I only speak for me. It was such a waste. All the negative, perpetuating the negativity that I was perpetuating, it was just a waste of time, and it kept me from being useful to anybody else. And when I'm useful to myself, then I'm self-seeking. And it's just a cycle. I can't help anybody else, so all Eric's going to do is help himself. And how is Eric going to help himself? When Eric helps himself, all hell breaks loose. It's not like I'm peaceful over there minding my business. I fuck everybody's shit up. You know, I don't know, man. It's weird, dude. We're in a weird time, dude. There's a lot of contention. You know, I'm peeking over my fence like, what the fuck are they doing over there? You know what I mean? Like, everybody's like, it's weird, man. You got people, you know, there's a shooting every you know, couple weeks, couple days sometimes. I was at Stagecoach, and my girl was reminiscing on Route 91. She was there when that dude shot like 50 fucking people at Route 91. You know, it's just people are mad, people are angry. And it's just pouring over, you know. It's pouring over into everybody's space, and we are almost denying it, you know. It's interesting.
Well, I feel like we're like becoming numb to this shit, which is not good. You know, there was a shooting on my way over here. I saw like there was one at UNC. There was one a couple days ago, I think, in Poway. Yeah. And it's like, either we're gonna start addressing this issue, or we're fucking gonna fucking all just die.
People want to be right, though. Yeah. And people would rather be right than do the right thing. And that's kind of how like our political system goes. And that's why I'm always resistant to this, like, to the system. Like, I'm not like, as much as I vote and I participate. But I'm very resistant and skeptical of our system because, at least for Black people, it's been clear to us for our entire time being here that the government does not give a fuck. They don't. They really don't. If they gave a fuck, there'd be all the money that are taken out of taxes. They'd be addressing mental health. They'd be addressing poverty in certain neighborhoods. They'd be addressing Flint, Michigan with poisoned water. What the? That's still happening right now. It's been years, dude.
Fucking insane.
But they just don't give a fuck. And so to expect, when shit like, you know, shootings are happening, I don't expect the government to do anything to help. And it's a very hopeless feeling, because it's like, what, even if I vote, what the fuck is going to happen? And then, you know, what's going to happen? I'm a liberal guy, socially liberal. And I'm a little conservative in some regards, but socially liberal. And all these people on the Democratic Party, which I typically vote Democrat, they're now all about to argue with each other. They're not going to talk about what's happening in my neighborhood in Jamaica. There's people still dying. There's people in New York. My friends are still ODing, still in methadone clinics. Well, let's talk about that shit. And the government's not. They're going to argue with each other. That's what they're going to do. They're going to argue with each other, and nothing's going to change. And it's frustrating, and it creates more contention. You know what I mean? It creates more hostility for people, and it rallies people against the system, as opposed to, if we're all on the same team, you know, I'm on your team, right? I want people on your team. I don't want Jewish people getting shot, dude. I don't want that. You're a person. I don't want people who I like you. I don't want people like you getting murdered. There's, you know, I just don't want that happening. If we're on the same team, how do we not like have a fucking conversation? Like, let's figure it out. But people aren't even down. Because they have their own team, and they want their team to be right. You know, Dave Chappelle says the most uncomfortable motherfucker in the room is the motherfucker that's right. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to be fucking. Everybody stands firm in their like, they want to be right, dude. It's weird because it hurts. People are dying over it. You know, I don't know.
And why do people want to be right all the time?
It's typically money related. There's typically some sort of financial or power gain, which it is, you know.
No, I think it kind of relates more towards identity. Like, that's their identity, and if whatever they've attached themselves to their view or whatever it is, like they're not willing to kind of be malleable. Yeah. In a sense, like, at least for me, learning that like it's okay to be wrong, and like sometimes you kind of welcome being wrong, because that means like I get to learn something and I get to change it and I get to do something else that'll help me grow. But a lot of people attach, what I'm seeing nowadays is that so many people are attaching their identity to their ideas. Mm-hmm. And when you attack an idea, or it turns out that your idea is wrong, you're attacking that person's identity, who they are at their core, what they believe in, what they stand in. But we're not having these conversations anymore like we deserve to, and we should, and we used to, or maybe we didn't. I don't know. We didn't, right? We just,
now it's just getting more divisive.
Yeah, and so I think like the biggest thing is because we've talked about identities, and I think we're going to kind of go back to it, right? Mm-hmm. But whatever, like, you want to label yourself a liberal or a conservative or a libertarian or whatever it is that you want to label yourself that, but in a sense you can pigeonhole yourself, or you can learn to be like a kind of like a free roaming human being, evolving, right? Yeah. Exactly. So you're not giving yourself that chance to evolve. You just want to be stuck, like Eric said, like, this is my team, this is how we think, and this is how it's got to be. Yeah. Right. So it's just the identity that you put yourself into. Yeah. Is like why people don't want to be wrong.
It comes back to fucking humility, dude. And it's like, for me, I don't know, I never had an issue like someone challenging my ideas. Like, I always had this like scientific mindset, and in science, the way it's supposed to be, it's not necessarily the way it always is, but it's like we have a hypothesis, right? And we do an experiment, and then people challenge whether this hypothesis is correct or not, and it's like, and then if it's not, you're like, okay, cool. And that's it. You move on to the next thing. It's like, for me, like, my ideas constantly are changing of like, what do I believe in, or, what's right, what's wrong type stuff. And I don't care, like, if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, if there's a better way to do it, like, let me know, dude, because I want to do that way. Yeah. Yeah. Versus like, oh, no, this is how it's got to be type shit. Like, I know better than you type shit. Like, we're not making any progress if we're going to all be like that.
Yeah, it's humility and ego. It's the ego to say that I'm right. It's at all costs. That's what we're dealing with, is that people want to be right at all costs, and the costs are lives. I as much as when it comes to like gun rights, I don't know enough about it. I don't give a fuck about guns. I don't have any. I still don't really get why people feel like they need guns all the fucking time. I lived in a pretty tough neighborhood and walked around the streets, and I never needed one. And I feel like white people get real scared. They're like, in Arizona, I'm like, why y'all all got guns? What's happening here? What is happening in this environment where you all need them? That'll never make sense to me. But the idea
low crime rates.
Yeah, I guess, dude. I guess, but it doesn't make sense to me to say, hey, let's compromise. And we're not taking your guns. No one's saying that. There are more guns here than people. No one's taking all your guns. That would be such an exorbitant amount of money and resources to do that anyway. It's just not going to happen. So that's not what people are scared. That's what people say they're scared of. But can we all agree that there's certain stuff that shouldn't be available to everybody? Is that not reasonable?
I think that it circles back to like what people attach their identities to. You want to be a pro gun constitutionalist, and this is what this thing says, and this is how it's got to be. Some people aren't going to compromise because that's the way they believe, and that's the key word. I think you and I talked about it one time too. It comes down to, and like, it's a belief.
It's my beliefs. They're so important to me.
Yeah, it's a belief, right?
It's so funny.
And so it's like both ends of the spectrum believe just as hard. And when you're trying to compromise somebody's beliefs, like, dude, it's I don't know, it's not going to happen, or is it? Yeah. Or is it just going to take time? And we bring it up all the time. Like, how much pain are we willing? Are our communities, like you were kind of saying, like, at least, or just people or communities, like, how much pain are we going to be willing to go through until we finally say enough is enough? Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't even, like, we don't even know the answer. And I think that's what adds to it too. Like, what do we do? Well, I don't know.
Not knowing the answer, that for me, me and my partner actually fight about this a lot, because, for me, if I don't know the answer, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Yeah. I come from a similar place as Jesse, that like my parents are scientific people. Like, I believe certain things and I have certain ideologies, but if you can challenge them and like give me something else, I'd love to hear it. As much as it may hurt my ego, I still want to, like, let's have the discourse. Because if I keep looking over my fence and you keep looking over your fence and we're not having the fucking conversation, then all the nonsense is happening in the middle. So as if having the conversation about it and the discomfort that comes with that is a necessity. No one's going to feel good about it. on a community level, on a federal level. The conversations are going to have to happen at some point, or if they don't, we're just going to extinct. Going to kill ourselves. Yeah. We're literally doing it. At least people in my community have been doing it. Our population does not grow at the same rate as everybody else's because we're constantly imploding on ourselves, and we're not really having the discussion wide open. And the place is, you see what it looks like when without having the conversations that are difficult.
Yeah, and it's to me, it's also tough because like criminals are going to do criminal shit. Like it doesn't matter what, like you can maybe write it on a piece of paper and say this isn't allowed, or that isn't going to stop anybody from doing something.
Well,
so like
what, dude? That is a very common argument.
It's a very
common argument
because it actually like
So do you think Americans out of all humans are inherently more criminal than others? I'm going to challenge. I'm going to push back. So why? So what is the common denominator in places like Japan, which you just watched Anthony Jeselnik's podcast?
Yeah,
it's known as the most unhappy country in the world.
Yeah.
Why do they not have mass murders? Australia, why do they not have mass murders?
So here's
London, why is there no mass murders?
Okay, so going back to Japan though, it's like you have one, like you have a culture that's predominantly Japanese. You have a Japanese culture like of Japanese people. Here in America, we have various cultures of various people.
Yeah.
You don't have that commonality of like this is how we operate and this is what we believe and this is what we all agree to and this is how we are.
Yeah.
When you have a nation full of 330 million people, like you have things that clash. We don't all of us come from different backgrounds and to a certain extent we all, because I mean we've reached a common place, but growing up we didn't have that much of a common place. Mm-hmm. So you have, like in reference to Japan, like yes, we may be unhappy, but we still have these sets of morals that culturally we live by. Yeah. Australia had a mass shooting.
One.
It was New
and
Zealand.
Then
no, and they had another one.
No, that was New Zealand. And what did New Zealand do right?
Yeah.
Within 4 days?
But here's the thing.
Fucking days?
So when they asked people to turn their guns in, no one turned their fucking guns in.
But now they have a federal law.
Yeah, they have a federal law, but people aren't turning their guns in. So here's the thing, though. Like you may get caught with your guns and you're going to face those consequences. Mm-hmm. But putting some sort of legislature doesn't stop criminal acts from happening.
But that's how you change. That's how you change culture. That's how you change culture.
Sure, yeah, I'll give you that. But what I'm saying though is like how long of a culture do we have of these gun rights or these gun laws being enacted, and now we're getting stricter and we're still having all these things happen. I'm not like a big gun guy either. I'm just trying to find some at least some conversation of like, well, what's our root cause?
So the root cause, I have no clue. Actually, here's what fuck it, dude. I'm gonna say it. Dude.
Say it, dude.
Say it.
So what's the root cause right now? There's white nationalism. That's a big. If you look at a list of all the terrorist attacks that have happened in the past 15 years, most of them in this country are done by white nationalists. So empowering and empowering at the same time ignoring the threat of white nationalism perpetuates the cycle of hate crimes, which shooting in a synagogue, it's a fucking hate crime. This is not, this is on these mass scales. That's who's doing it. And that doesn't mean lock up all white people. That's what happened with black people. That's what they say. They say lock up all black people. Well, that's not even, it's a different fucking podcast for a different day. But what a serious action to take is take white nationalism more seriously. Because it's a very large problem. There was a couple. Not only are there mass shootings by white nationalists on a regular basis, but they just burned down how many churches? Was it 3 churches or 9 churches in the South were burned by a white nationalist? That's a problem. So are Americans inherently violent? I don't think so, but I think there's leeway in that regard. I don't think all white people are bad. My child is half white. My partner is white. You know, it's not that all white, but let's take serious threats seriously. So that's one place to start. Another place we can go is we can look at mental illness. Mental illness, not everybody should be able to go get a gun. Not everybody should. You know? And I know it's like, how do we monitor that? Dude, simply I need to take a very pretty difficult test to drive a car. Pretty difficult. I failed it before. In California, I failed the driving test before, not the written test. They don't have that for people. It's not like they don't have a strict testing policy for buying guns. How do I know? Because I can go into.
Yeah, they do. You do have to take a test to buy a gun.
Okay.
Well, I'm not talking about how do you fucking turn the safety off. We're talking about like a mental.
Well,
Do you think there?
I absolutely do think that there should be a mental health evaluation, but you got to clear whether there's a test or not. You're saying that you were saying that there's no test, but there should be
a more strict, a more firm evaluation. That's another thing, another place to start. And then lastly, I really don't think that assault rifles should be a thing. They're unnecessary.
Well, assault. So let's clear this up.
Who are you
first,
fighting
though,
somebody with an assault rifle?
No, hold on a second though. The term assault rifle, there is no the term assault rifle was made up for these rifles.
So,
but an assault rifle itself, like it's kind of
an AR-15. Okay,
that's a hunting rifle.
No, it's not a
shit or semi-automatic.
An AR-15.
I'm gonna leave. I'm kidding.
No.
An AR-15 is not a hunt.
It is a hunting, dude.
People are not shooting elk with AR-15s, dude.
Dude, look,
they're not.
Look, here's the thing, dude. We can get upset at this, but I mean, at the end of the day, though, like, we can perpetuate certain things, but like, there's still truths. There's still certain truths, dude, that I can't just let go by.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't think.
And I'm not advocating that people should or shouldn't. I'm not. What I'm saying though is like AR doesn't even stand for assault rifle though.
Okay.
Like and so it's easy to push a narrative. What I'm saying is that, and
I'm
it's
not pushing
easy.
I don't have a narrative.
I'm not saying that you are. What I'm saying though is like culturally, when we're saying for team, it's easy to push this narrative. But I mean, dude, honestly, an AR-15 is a hunting rifle.
No,
what does AR stand
black
for?
And
I'm curious, actually.
And you know what an AR-15 is? AR-15 is the non-automatic version of what the military uses in the field, right? The M16 is what the military
M16
uses,
is a fully automatic,
and the AR-15 is a semi-automatic. So that's what an AR-15 is. It's a military grade weapon that's for normal people. Okay, and let me say this. So people say, Second Amendment people say we need to fight tyranny from the government. My dude, we're so far past that. We're so far past that. If you think that is going to stop fucking tyranny, this is not going to fucking happen.
AR stands for Armalite.
Armalite rifle.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't fucking know. I just I get.
Well, I don't know. No, but like this is. I mean, like I hate having this conversation.
I know, but it's necessary.
Wait, what do we hate about this conversation?
I don't know, dude. Because I feel like it kind of turned.
No, it turned because I dig my feet in. I dig my feet in when it comes to like assault rifles.
And I typically don't. But like, I'm still gonna err on the side of truth. Like, I'm sorry, dude, but an assault rifle is a term made up.
That's a very bold statement.
And an AR-15 is not an assault rifle. It is a hunting rifle. Like, can you add things on? Sure. Do you need to add certain things on? Maybe not. But like, just subjectively, dude. So, okay, like, I don't.
Let me give you some more pushback. Let me give you some more pushback. So okay,
why?
That's the conversation. That's the discourse.
Yeah.
So let me give you some pushback. So if stopping, I'm not saying, dude, hunting rifles, actual things that people are hunting animals with, keep them. I absolutely support people's right and ability to hunt. I support it. So we're not saying take all the guns away. And I think that's where people's minds go. But why is there a problem limiting the caliber of weapon that people have? Why does that bother you so much?
It doesn't. It doesn't limit it doesn't bother me limiting the caliber. Like, I mean, a 9mm is like, it's fucking powerful. A handgun is super powerful.
So when I say, let's say, When I say AR-15s, when we say we're gonna say, hey, no, we can't have AR-15s. You can still have your hunting rifles. You can still have your shotguns and your handguns for personal protection. Protecting your home and hunting. Cool, but let's say that we're not gonna have AR-15s anymore. We got to turn them in. Why does that bother you? Does it bother you?
Honestly, it bothers me because I feel like enough people have been fear-mongered into believing that an AR-15 is bad. When subjectively, like, an AR-15's power, like, can it do damage? Yeah. A 22 can do damage. Any gun can do damage. A pellet gun could do damage. But subjectively speaking, like what people think a caliber of an AR-15, like, isn't as high of a caliber as people think. So I think people have been, like, riled up enough to this point to, like, believe into these things. But honestly, like, an AR-15 to me is a perfectly okay rifle to have in your collection.
I think for me, I haven't been frenzied up. I haven't been frenzied up into believe that AR-15s are bad. I'm very logically saying that no one has any solution. No one has any solution. So and people on more conservative people, guns rights, advocate people say, no, you can't. You can't say we can't have this gun. So what the fuck else what can we say? We can't say there's a more stringent evaluation. You can't do that. You can't we're not going to stop. We're not going to, like, take nationalism way more seriously. So what the fuck can we do? And that's where apathy comes in. And people are like, these are my constitutional rights and you're not going to infringe them. Dude, people are, that's identity. That's your identity. But if it's for the greater good, if we're all on the same team, why are we not willing to go at any length to try to save lives? Why are we not willing to go to any length?
I think the important thing here is, like, about saying this is my constitutional right, or this is what the Bible states, or this is how it is because it's some dude wrote it down hundreds or thousands of years ago. Like, that's just a fucking cop-out, dude.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, that was written in the Constitution in 1776 when it was made total sense because they just fucking overthrew a government. So they're like, yo, if shit goes down, like, you need to be able to overthrow the government. But, like, at the same time, just because someone wrote it down hundreds or thousands of years ago doesn't mean that we shouldn't be able to challenge those ideas now. Our society is changing at a fucking exponential rate. And I'm not for or against banning guns at all. I totally am cool with, like, I think it's totally okay to have a gun, but there needs to be some type of way to monitor who's getting these fucking guns. I don't think that you should be able to walk into a fucking...
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
I don't think you should be able to walk into a gun shop.
I mean,
a gun... What do they have? Those, like, gun show, and be like, yeah, this is what I want. And you're like, okay, cool. Yeah. Like, what do you mean, dude?
Yeah, it's we got to do something. There's got to be some sort of, like, someone's got to fucking...
Well, the thing is, it's the fence thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on this side of the fence. Everyone should have guns. It's not a problem. And the other side of the fence,
they're gonna
ban all the guns.
No, I never said that. I never one time said that.
I'm saying that's
I know
the
that
stance.
Yeah, I know that's the stance. And people, when you say something about, like, whenever someone brings up we're not allowing, let's say no more AR-15s, they immediately go to, you're gonna take all our guns. There's so many guns here, it just would never happen. It's not feasible to believe that all the guns will be taken. And Australia did it. Australia has a small percentage of what we have. We have 300 something million people. They're not all giving their guns away. It's not gonna happen. But to say we're gonna halt the sale of this kind of gun as a last-ditch effort, let's try something. But but people have such a firm belief system in the Second Amendment right, and on a completely baseless, like, random thought, if people really think that they're gonna overthrow the government with modern government technology, dude, they will shut your water off and fucking drought your ass, or they'll stop delivering groceries to your neighborhood for fucking a month. You know what I mean? Like, the government, they will. You're not gonna overthrow the government. It's just not happening. That's the government. We give them money so they can't. So it's not about overthrowing the government. It's not about that. Not because it simply wouldn't happen. They'll drone your house. You know what I mean? Like, really, what do you think is gonna happen?
Yeah,
dude?
just EMP everything. Everything.
Shut off all your Wi-Fi. Shut off all your
electricity.
Shut off your water. And what do you think is gonna happen? You think we're gonna beat the fuck, man? That's totally baseless. And that's my own stupid thinking. But like, people just have their beliefs, man, and their Second Amendment right, and that's their identity, right? They identify with being having these rights, and they're not willing to be malleable.
My only contribution to the topic at hand. Has anybody seen the first Purge?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the government literally, like, you know, shut off everything, like how you were talking about, and then snuck in some government people to, like, help the, like, riots, like, to stir shit up.
Yeah. Which they do that in real life.
Yeah,
which
do that.
Fully.
Anyways. I mean,
that's it. I'll go to the other room now.
Thank you. I mean,
just
look, man.
The Purge drops the mic.
I mean, look, man.
As historical fact, right?
Honestly, like at the end of the day, it truly is a mental health issue.
No, it's not. But you can't
it's
say that. Just
I don't know.
Blanket
dude,
it that way.
I'm not blanketing.
You can't blanket it. Just say
this
it's
is why I don't like having these conversations, because like what happens is like people project however they feel onto somebody without listening to somebody.
Finish that sentence without it being a blanket sentence.
It's a mental health issue. If you want to look at all these other like situations, like you can probably trace it back to some sort of mental health. People are going to commit some sort of harm on people, regardless of what tool they use. You have London having a surge in knife attacks.
Yeah, throw acid in people's faces.
Yeah, so they're collecting knives, but they're still happening. Like people are still going to hurt other people regardless of what tool. People right now, our tools we have, because there's more access to them, are guns. But they're still happening.
Okay, my dude, you just put a very simple cover. You put a very simple really cloak. No.
What else?
You can't say it's simply a mental health issue. That's narrow. That's a very narrow place, and say
I don't think it's that narrow, dude. Like we all suffer.
So you don't think white terrorism is part of the problem? You don't think white terrorism is part of the problem?
But those things are also branches of mental health. You can't tell me like these things aren't healthy ways or mentally healthy ways of thinking.
So how do we treat that everybody gets medicated? We're
literally on here on microphones trying to share our views of how we came out of these other situations.
I want to hear your thought process. That's why I'm asking questions.
Dude, all you're doing is pushing back, but you're not letting me.
Let's slow down for a sec. I do think like mental health is a giant part of this problem. If you think about it, like if you're like us and you have some sense of like decent mental health, I'm not going to say that we're fucking paragons of mental health, but like it would be totally out of your fucking mind to like pick up a gun and just start shooting people. Whether how much hate you have for this type of person, whatever it is, mentally something is wrong with you if that's like the course of action that you're taking. So I think it is hugely related to mental health, whether it's nationalism based or fucking
can I ask a question?
Racism based or whatever. It's still a mental health.
Do you think?
Thing.
And I'm not correlating white nationalism to Nazis. Okay, I'm not doing that. Another scenario. Okay, let's use black people. Do you think genocide in Rwanda? Do you think that was mental health? Or do you think that was toxic ideology? Valid question. Do you think when people are murdering other people, it's and also second question, do you think in Chicago, do you think the people killing each other in Chicago is a mental health issue? Do you think?
Dude, they all correlate with each other.
Okay. So the reason I asked that is because when white nationalism is the problem, we're very quick to say it's mental health, but when people are killing each other in Chicago, they're thugs and goons. Let's lock them all away. As the only black person in this room, I have to say that correlation, and people don't even acknowledge that that's a thing. But people who are terrorists, they're not only mentally ill. There's some people who are bad guys. But if we're going to use the mentally ill as the standard, let's treat it then. But that's not what people are proposing either.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, actually, because now I'm thinking about what I said, and like they talk about a lot of these Muslim extremists, I guess you can call them, are people who, there's a lot of doctors and fucking lawyers and shit that are the toxic ideology is what makes them commit the crimes that they commit. They're actually totally like normal dudes, except for the fact that they believe in this extremely insane idea that like kill everyone who doesn't believe the way that we believe. So it could be toxic ideology is also a huge factor in this thing too, because it's like, where do we get these ideas that like this group of people is correct and everyone else should die because they don't believe the same way?
Yeah, I just don't want to make excuse for white terrorism, and it happens enough. It happens enough. It's very quickly. Everybody, and I'm gonna do it, dude. I'm gonna say it. All the white people who do these mass shootings come back alive somehow. They are arrested alive, and their faces are not bloodied like that 15-year-old kid last week, right? Who got his head beat in on video. So when I see things like that, and people say it's mental health, it's frustrating for us. It's frustrating for people of color, because we're now allowing people who are straight up murdering for hateful purpose. And we're going to excuse them and say, oh, it's mental health. But when it happens, when you see tragedy happen in the hood, the key is, what did Joe Biden say back in he was, you got to lock them up, tough on crime. That's the solution for people. So that's why I say to say it's a mental health issue is a very blanket way to cloak a very complex issue. It's a multifaceted issue. It's mental health plays a part. Some people, normal people, don't feel like they need to murder tons of people. Fact, right? None of us in here want to plot and murder people.
You don't know that.
No, but I'm mentally.
Jess is over there like plotting her next thing.
I'm mentally ill as fuck, and I don't want to murder anyone. You know what I mean? Like it's not like that's not. And that also gives a stigma to mentally ill people, saying that like if you're bipolar or schizophrenic, you're gonna murder people. Which the vast majority of people who are actually mentally ill are victims of crime, not perpetrators of crime. Statistical. That's a fact. That's not my opinion. Okay, so to blanket and say it's a mental health issue, it's very short-sighted. And so mental health plays a part, because normal people don't commit crimes like that. But racism plays a part, because regular white people don't go to synagogues or burn black churches or do things like that. So that's a problem. Racism is a problem. Nationalism is a problem. People who are extreme in their love for this country, it becomes toxic. There's many problems. And then lastly, where we started this conversation, not all guns should be fucking allowed. And that means, dude, hunt, bro. I support it.
Yeah, if everyone had a bolt action rifle, no one's gonna be going into like.
Yeah, you're not mass shooting with hunting rifles. And how do I know what hunting rifles are like? I lived on a farm and we hunted shit, dude. And I know what hunting rifles are like. And then when you shoot the AR-15, it's a different thing. Because I've shot in both. It's a different thing, dude. It's not the same thing. So it's a complex issue. I don't have the fucking solution, but let's not pretend it's a blanket fucking solution to this fucking problem. It's insulting. It's insulting when people excuse it for like white mass shooters, and like it's like an excuse. Oh, it's mental health. It's very insulting to black people. When people talk about white privilege, that is the epitome of white privilege. It's like, here, let's bring Dylan Roof like Burger King, Meanwhile, like unarmed black people getting straight murdered in their houses. It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm glad that you spoke your fucking mind, dude. Because although I do agree it's mental health, there's a lot more than just fucking mental health, And that's the thing, though. It's like there's all these issues, and it's like almost like overwhelming. It's like, what the fuck? Where do we start? Type shit. But I think the key point is we just need to fucking start somewhere. Like we just need to start fucking somewhere. We have to meet somewhere in the middle and work it from there. Versus like this is how it's got to be, or that's how it's got to be.
The black and white solution is never the right answer, especially when there's 300 million people. Someone's going to lose. So how do we make it so we all lose a little? We're all going to lose a little. You know what I mean? Like, but if we're all on the same team, why are we not okay with taking an L? But people don't want to take a fucking L. That came around full goddamn circle. Woo, this podcast is lit as fuck.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We all got to take a little L, you know?
Yeah, we all got to take an L, bro.
And on that note, let's wrap it up and watch The Purge.
That's exactly what I'm going to do right now.
Oh, The Endgame.
Did anybody see it? Because I want somebody to spoil it for me so bad. I'd rather just someone spoil it for me and then I'll watch it.
I'm so far behind that I haven't even seen the.
I watched the Infinity Wars and it's honestly really good.
I know. Where can I find that shit?
On Netflix.
Netflix.
Hey, Netflix has Infinity Wars.
I haven't watched the Infinity Stone yet. The last one.
You should watch Infinity. It's on Netflix. Watch it. It's I watched it this weekend because I wanted to catch up, and they make really good movies, dude. They're just fucking good.
Dude, Stan Lee died.
Yeah, that was like 6 months ago.
Are you serious? I found out about this when it showed up on the screen. I was like, what?
Wait, dude, he died like a long
Who the fuck
time.
Stan Lee.
Stan Lee. I think you said Stanley. I was like, who's Stanley Steamer? Like, who the fuck?
Stanley Steamer.
Dude, like.
Yeah, so the reason I have 0 to none input on whatever it is that you guys were talking about, and also with the fact with Stanley, which is why I'm bringing it up, I am so far from like my self-centeredness to like expand on like looking at the news, looking at like movie star updates and celebrity deaths and things like that. Like I am just not and I haven't been exposed to that for years. Years. Because I don't know why. I mean, I don't watch like cable television. I don't even know where do normal people, because I don't go on social media much. I don't go on like wherever everybody else is knowing the news now. I don't go out of my way to go. Yeah. That's not one of my top priorities. Because like whenever I do look at the news, I feel so belittled. Like I feel helpless, hopeless. Like I feel like I have 0 to none power, because right now at this very moment, like I don't, sitting on this couch, like to have any, like I feel like I don't want to have an opinion without having like the ability to change things or to actually have some action behind my opinion. Because I can be talking about whatever it is, like my opinions and what I think is right all day long, but if I don't have any action behind it and I don't know how to have action behind it, then it's ignorance. It's pure ignorance to not even want to look at the problem, and I understand that. But right now at 22, I got bigger things on my mind, like my girlfriend. I'm just kidding.
It's all
but not really.
No, you develop your political identity as you go. You know, I didn't wake up to what was important to me until I was 23.
Yo, in the 7th grade, I made a speech, or I had a speech like in English class, and it was about voting yes on Prop 8.
What's Prop 8? Weed.
Gay rights.
Oh, gay rights.
How ironic.
There you go.
Yep. And so me having such a blur, like I registered as Republican because that's what I was told to do. And I was fed all this shit about how bad Obama is and how good all the other people are. And it's like, at this point, I don't care. Like, I don't have skin in the game. I don't have like influence, and I don't have enough information to like share any thoughts about it. Yeah. You know? But until I do, that'll be for the next podcast.
All right, guys, we crushed it today.
Bars. I'm glad that we got into like a heated discussion.
Yeah, it's so important, man.
Because I'd like to have more of these types of things. Yeah. You know, because this is the reason why that has such a visceral effect is because it's such a complex issue.
Yeah, and it's a lot at stake.
The point is for us to work through this shit. You know what I mean? That's the whole point of this whole thing. Yeah,
and there's a lot at stake, dude. There's a lot at stake. It's not like you know, with gay rights, you know, that could I'm not saying I don't support this, but if that didn't go back, that didn't pass, that would have never affected my life, you know? But mass shootings, my girl was at Route 91 last year, and she saw people shot in the head. Like, my girl stopped and helped people who were shot in their brain, you know? That happens to people. There's people who know the people from in that LA shooting at that bar. I have friends who are like, I used to drink at that bar all the time. That's where we're at today, where it can affect anybody at any time. And it's statistically possible for us to go somewhere randomly in this country and get murdered with 20 other people. So it's an issue that affects everybody and can affect everybody. It doesn't until it does, but it's an important conversation to have, you know? So even though Benny and I get heated for sure about all that, I still fuck with Benny. My whole side of my girl's whole side of the family is conservative. I love the fuck out of them. They're my family. We can disagree. I even can get heated, but maybe they'll see a little bit of the way I feel, and maybe I'll see a little bit of the way they feel, and we can meet in the middle, you know? And if you don't have the conversation at all, then it goes back to that looking over the fence shit, dude. And that doesn't help anybody.
Break down the fences.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to admit is that I have a hard time agreeing to disagree. So I check out of most opinionated conversations because I know myself, and I'm not going to let it go in the whole, I'm right. Like, my ego is still fat, and it's so hard having this awareness, but also being co-signed by other people your age to fuck it.
Fuck your age.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't
You checked out, dude.
You checked
out
yeah.
so
Yeah.
hard.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, but I'm glad that you're aware of it.
Do you want to know what I was watching?
Sure. Before we get out of here, you can tell us what you were watching.
A man getting bathed in nachos.
All right, guys.
All
I
right,
appreciate
let's
you
close
guys.
it on
Love
that.
you.
We will see you later.